Welcome everyone, this is Pine Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at lasers and LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin,
Hi, hi.
Calabathian,
Hi.
and Krister.
Hello.
Hello everyone. And this week we have, believe it or not, another patch.
Yay.
Yes, this is update 33.0.1, where we have a special note: players who previously purchased the Mordor, Minas Morgul, and/or War 3-Piece Collector's Editions, or received the 15th Anniversary Collector's Edition once per account gifts before the rollback on 420, will now receive their missing items on the first character login. Followers require post-novice character login. The Collector's Edition once per account items include the Aria of the Valor Package Valor Level Boost Package 120, improved expedition supplies, small crafting carry-alls, and 3-piece collector supplies.
You would think that, but I think Maven? Was it Maven? Or is it Morphe? One of those two, I learned on Friday, she apparently something happened and she never got her corgi. And then they had, like everybody was supposed to get all of their missing items. And after that happened, she still didn't have it. And she's like, she was trying to decide if she really wanted to bother putting in a ticket or not. So I don't know what was going on there. And then I think
lost dog.
Yeah, I think Looney, Looney actually used a removal scroll to get his allies off so he could redo them. And one of his golds that he wanted to put on there, this brand new one, vanished out of his bags. So he's definitely put a ticket in for that.
Yeah.
Well, we hope they get all of that sort. Actually, the corgi might be the easiest one because that might come back if she did a reclaim. The problem is if you do a reclaim, you get so much junk in your bag as a result that it's not worth it, probably.
So much stuff.
I'm just saying that some of there's been a few little blips going on out there. So, if it happens, make sure to put in a ticket or something so they know what's going on, because you may not be the only one that it's happened to.
Yeah. Also, relating to the Hidden Horde of Abnakara, Tier 5 of the Hidden Horde will unlock on May 5th at 12 p.m.
Tier 5 on Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
May the 5th, May the 4th be with you, and it'll be Revenge of the 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes. So, Tier 5 on 5.5. And the Leading the Charge Vanguard and Original Challenge deeds may now be earned until June 16th, 2022 at 3 a.m. And of course, the times are for server time, which is U.S. Eastern Time. Also noted, for classes, Lore Master, the Kindred Flame pet buff is now a visible buff and applies to correct bonuses. And the Sikkim skill is now versioned out of the game.
Yeah. I was surprised when I logged in my higher level Lore Master because I needed to capture the way the UI was set up for my lower level Lore Master, and she still had Sikkim.
Oops.
It was before the update.
Yeah.
So now if I log her in, she will no longer still have Sikkim. But I used it again just because I still had it. The secondary skill where you sick your targets actually on somebody was missing, but the actual Sikkim skill was still there when I logged in on Monday.
Oops.
Yeah.
Then let's go to quests and adventure areas. For the quest since it's springtime, springing the grand plan, the sprung net is now grounded. Well, that is good to hear, since I think we're getting close to that particular quest on some of our characters. And the quest, The Tale of Ashenfell, the red flag locations now have proper tooltips. That's good. And the red flag placement spot should begin to sparkle without you having to cross over there and back again. Thank goodness. I remember having a lot of trouble finding those flag spots when I was doing that quest.
So, and it actually works now instead of you having to play pretend like you are actually Bilbo and go there and back again.
Yeah. And in the quest, tying the knots, the quest item has been corrected to spool of rope.
What was it before?
A pool of rope.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called before. It obviously it was something of rope, so I probably either didn't notice it there or.
I mean, it's not.
A gallon. A gallon of rope.
Quest item has been corrected from noose to spool of rope. Okay. Good for them. That's.
Yeah.
I mean.
For the quest, apple yonder boar pie, a few apples that refuse to be part of the quest guide have been removed and fed to yonder boars.
The squeaky apple gets the kick. Although that does sound a little bit like your apple pie pork chops,
which are very good, by the way.
They are. They're very good. But I saw that and was like, "Hey, wait a minute! Has someone been sneaking in? Wait, hold up."
As for the anniversary quest, a flurry of fireworks corrected a typo in the title awarded for completing in a small fellowship, and the small fellowship and fellowship challenges are now completable on legendary servers. And as for the anniversary quest, Year 5 travels, Bodies of Water, remembrances involved in this quest were spawning beneath the ground at the Mirror and blocking completion. This issue has been corrected.
Yeah, that seems like it could have been problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so we've got underground aquifers in the game. Okay. I was unaware that we went underground for some of this.
Well, what happened? What happened is, of course, they had done some terrain adjustment in that area when they did the quest line going into the past at the Mirror. So apparently, they did not adjust the locations of the remembrances at that time.
Oops.
And as for miscellaneous items, the slow travel route between Dwayland and Needlehole will now pass through Yondershire. Where was it passing through before? How do you get from Needlehole to Dwayland without going through Yondershire?
It was versioning. It was versioning at the gate.
Oh.
So, like, you used to version at the gate.
Okay. And as for Bree Homesteads, terrain around 7 and 8 along street in the Breeland homesteads no longer swallows the portions of the arts.
Nom nom.
And corrected the female Bjorning / woman boar dismount animation.
Wait, what? What happened? I hadn't noticed anything weird before the correction.
My human characters don't ride boars, so I have no idea.
Aha. And a buried wood resource node near No Bottle is now available. And Legacy clients will now request an update to the 64-bit client. I'm sure that'll really annoy the last few 32-bit users. And on Honor, the legendary item maximum item level has been increased to 449. Speak with any Forge Master to increase the item level of your legendary item. And that is it for the updates 33.0.1. And they have also released a soundtrack for the 15th anniversary. Over the past 15 years, the Lord of the Rings Online has continued to grow and move beyond the bounds of Eriador all the way to Mordor, along with many places in between. In that time, we've made as much music as possible to give each new area a distinct feel and sound. The result has been nearly 60 hours of music to immerse you inside of Middle-earth. As The Lord of the Rings Online celebrates its 15th anniversary, now is a great time to release a triple album of music I've written for the game over the past 5 years. These are some of the tracks that I am most proud of, encapsulating music from Legacy of the Necromancer, Update 22, through the Undershire, Update 33. I've also included remakes of two of my earliest Cape of Belfalis tracks that we've never officially released on YouTube. I hope that they bring back fond memories of your time traveling in Middle Earth, signed Bill Champagne on April 2022.
Rock on. That's awesome.
So 15th anniversary of LOTRO and 5 years for him being the composer. And so we have a great deal amount there, and there are 3 discs that are listed on here, going all the way. See, we have 10 to 12 tracks on each of them, a little bit more than an hour for each of these discs. So that's quite a bit there. And special thanks to Tabaxi Music for providing violin on A Feast for Marathon and Rebels in the City, and vocals to Great Lakes, so therefore giving the credits in there also. And special thanks for Chance Thomas for our Journey in the Dark melody used in the Fall of Khazad-dûm. And so you could download this from archives.org, or you could also catch these on YouTube, because when this released, I knew that they released the soundtrack on there because my inbox to YouTube suddenly exploded with LOTRO music. And our next little bit of news is that Helms Deep will arrive on Shadowfax on May the 4th. So May the 4th be with Shadowfax. And we were talking about Tier 5 of Hidden Horde coming on May 5th. And we also noticed that there was a discussion, there is actually still going on a discussion in the forums concerning Monster Play, where SSG Orion posted, let's discuss Monster Play, and which just talks about various aspects about this. Now, I don't follow Monster Play all that closely. Has anyone who does do Monster Play paid any attention to this thread?
No, not really.
Not really. But I did get this sense that the fate of Monster Play may very much be decided based on some of the things that are being discussed in here, because they want to see, all right, what are the opinions of people concerning Monster Play and where we should take it in the future. All right, let's say here's one of the questions that says, words are great, Orion, but what are you going to do about it? Well, I want to say bold changes and new features. I want to say, and so when you say I want to say, that's always not a warm, fuzzy feeling. Here are the top 10 things that I would like to address today, but truthfully, I cannot. If I did, I would commit the same sins of the past, and there is no benefit from doing that. So instead, let me level with you. Monster Play is showing its age, and the rather arbitrary changes that came along the time of check notes, writers of Rohan actively harmed the space. Performance issues have been plagued the zone since its inception persist, though this is not isolated to the Ettenmoors. Its impact is greater. The power creep of players, while addressed by Vastin, continually returns as players edge higher and the imbalances inherent in the features again rears its ugly head. In a nutshell, Monster Play is at a crossroads. Where we go from here is based on minor adjustments with perceptible and measurable impact, coupled with a potentially bold action if I can convince Reninia and its potential value when it delivers on that value. Side note, thus far Reninia is open to bold action I am suggesting. What follows anon are not promises. They are potential adjustments based on my own perceptions, your feedback, and gut instincts. To determine if these proposals are beneficial, I am presenting them to you to gauge appetite, determine where we should focus on. And some of the things are camp relocations for the orc and elf camps, the delving of Frar by removing the active effort needed to access the delving. We removed a crucial set of battle points in the Etmors. So they're wondering about should we restore these and things like that. Keep and tower revisions, healing modifiers, and in closing, he says that this is not going to be easy. It's not going to be fast. This is not going to happen behind closed doors. This is not going to happen without player input. So, to that end, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on these proposed changes and any that you might think you have missed. And I look forward to getting back into the trenches with all of you. And I am sure there will be some fun discussion on here. Let's see, they're on 4 pages at the moment. Oh, it's been only 2 days. No wonder. Okay. Yeah, okay. 4 pages in 2 days. That says things are getting a little active there then. So therefore, if you are interested in PvMP and have any good opinions on where they may go, then perhaps you should try going to the thread, and we do have a link of that in the show notes. So let's head to the store sales then. Terry Edwin, what's on sale this week?
Oh, well, double bonus points is back. You get twice the bonus points in the store through May 8th. And then through the 5th, the coupon this week is a free simple rally horn ×1 with coupon code RALLYUP. And 20% off select XP boosts, enhanced XP supply, 100% mark acquisition tomes, and virtue acceleration tomes now through the 5th.
Thank you. And then let's into our week in gaming. Terry Adwin, Calabathian, sorry. What were you up to?
Apparently turning into Terry Adwin.
You're a where Terry?
I'm a where Terry.
Well, see that's it's that time in New York that's just getting to you. It's seeping in.
I took my bear Isavi into Yondershire with the Tuesday group. We did some of the quests, and one of them you wind up drinking some of the stuff that you make. Apparently we make it really good because drunk bear trying to navigate the entirety of Yondershire is amusing. I also chased a Cobra chicken and lived through the horror of some random person killing chickens for no reason in one of the towns. Terry mentioned it and was horrified as well. It's like, what did they ever do to you? Literally, what did they ever do to you? They just run around going. Bark, 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 bark.
It's so mean.
And it wasn't just one. It was like they were a chicken serial killer.
I could understand if maybe you're trying out some skills and you kill one or two, but no, they were like actively hunting down all of the chickens in the area.
Maybe they're hoping that one of them will spawn as a goose so they could get revenge.
It was the wrong town for that.
Oh.
Yes, but Cobra chicken, of course, being a goose. So we were chasing around a goose. I also took my dwarf thief, Butty, who is related to some of the group of other dwarves, Nosy, Army, and Leggy, into Yondershire with the Academy on Friday, and ran, at least I did, because we were, for a little while there, we were just kind of all over Yondershire, I guess. There was like one person over here, and one over here, and one over here, and but I came kind of late to the party on that, and I went ahead and started the whole inn thing there, and so I had a drunk dwarf, and well, I guess that's kind of normal. But anyway, um, so I did that on Friday, and then last night after all of that, I attempted T2 with new tactics and strategy, and I still died, but at least I died in a new way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't make
So how
the same
about you,
mistakes.
Krister? How
Make
was your
new
week?
ones.
Yeah, we're making new
Yeah.
mistakes now. So how about you, Krister? How was your week?
Yeah, so our T2, we did a strategic adjustment based on some of our people doing research, and we're comfortable with the changes. However, we just didn't feel like we had the right mix. This time, we were really heavy on light, I think light DPS basically, um, and our survivability wasn't the greatest. So, but I think we're feeling pretty good about our tactics at this point. So, we're gonna see if we can try with one additional healer this next weekend and see how that turns out. So, I will definitely update once we've done that. We're kind of feeling like once we get past this first group, maybe we'll be able to get through the whole thing in one go at that point. Other than that, let's see. I got my. A lot of people have been starting to play Final Fantasy 14 again, so I finally got my account back up. And even though everybody that I know is playing a Lalafell at this point, so I'm trying to pass my gigantic 7 foot tall, 550-pound muscle bound dude as a Lalafell, and I don't think it's going too well. So I just say he's a very big boned Lalafell at this point. And then just been building, all in various building games. And then I reloaded a game called Mad Max. I don't know if any of you played that one, but it's kind of a roaming open world scavenging game that was really well done. Really kind of captures the Mad Max world really well. And so I've been having a lot of fun with that. And Terry, what have you been up to?
Well, I yondish rounds on Tuesday and Friday. And then after everybody left on Friday, I decided to go ahead and look into the mail issues, um, which actually turned out to be fairly interesting. Not going to spoil for anybody, but yeah, because it sounded like nobody was really interested in finding out what was going on with the mail, and certainly nobody wanted to run mail bundles. So, my elf Gray as a Shadow poked her nose into it. Um, I discovered that the previous week I had inadvertently led to somebody's keyboard dying a tragic death because I was reading out the quest text that included "Glad you're here, Gray as a Shadow," and somebody's drink ended up in the keyboard, which they didn't say anything about at the time. I learned a week later that the keyboard had died because of liquid inadvertently ending up in it. And I was like, oops, sorry, not sorry. I mean, I do feel a little bit bad, except I'm still not really sorry for naming my character Gray as a Shadow. um, and then my Craft the World Ice World build got a restart. I was almost 8 hours into it, and I unfortunately opened a Pandora's box, and it melted all of the surface snow. All of the surface snow, which exposed like my entire layer, and did some other really bad things to the world. So I restarted and rebuilt, and then I dug out the Guardians and got the heck out of there because I was done. So now I'm playing with the desert, and I'm leaving the Pandora's boxes alone. There's one sitting up above my hideout taunting me, and it
Come
can
on,
just stay
Terry.
there.
Oh, okay.
Man, I learned I only had to open one of those one time, and I'm like, you know what? You can sit there and taunt me all you want.
Well,
I ignore you.
some good stuff does come out of them. Like they can give your miners a boost, or sometimes they restore your health or your mana, um, or they give you skill books. But then you can also inadvertently unleash a nest of monsters, which they call an evil nest, or a baby dragon, or a zombie uprising, which is tombstones spawn all over the surface. like just randomly everywhere. I've had them show up on my roof,
Uh,
which is fun and challenging. Yes, Pine Leaf.
yeah, when you said that and you opened up a Pandora's box, unfortunately, I at first I was thinking that you were talking figuratively. And then it
Yeah,
took me a while, but there was a literal item called Pandora's box in that
yeah.
game.
It's from one of the I think it was from the last big update they did to the game. They introduced a Pandora's box, which appears somewhere in the world. It can either appear up in the air or it can appear underground. And you have your dwarf open it up, and it can be a variety of things. The worst one that I opened actually was a trap, which spawned a room around it that you can't portal into. Um, and the first time that happened, my dwarf died. And the second time that happened, I stayed with my dwarf, and I had enough healing potions that every time the health got down, I healed him back up, and he just pounded on all of the enemies that came out of the doors until everything was dead, and then the trap walls melted, and I was able to access the treasure. So I felt very proud of myself. But yeah, having like all of the surface snow melt out from under me when you've built stuff on top of the surface snow was really bad, especially because it happened right before the monster wave. So then the monster wave kicked in, and it's like far enough into the game that I've got 3 portals at a time. So yeah, it was bad. It was a bad wave, and I said, okay, we're gonna reboot that because I'm picky about my starts anyway. I want a specific kind of uh, field before I even get started building anything. I try to make sure that there aren't any gaping holes to the surface that stuff can come down and get stuck in. Um, and then I also try to make sure that I'm in the middle of a valley so that I can kind of level the ground around me and then plant traps as opposed to having to build things up because monsters will attack anything you build, but they don't attack stuff if you've kind of dug out. So, yeah. But now I'm in the desert.
On a horse with no name.
Oh.
Actually, it hasn't been terrible because I did manage to find one of the guardian things so I could make my motorized digger. So that was good. And then I dug on the pyramid side way down and I have the railway set up and some elevators. So slowly but surely we're making progress. But I still haven't found enough silver to progress through that crafting tier. So it's slow. And then while we were talking about geese on Tuesday, somebody mentioned the Untitled Goose Game on Steam and asked if I had played it. And I said, well, no, I haven't played it, but I saw it and it's been on my wish list for a while. So Sans got me the Untitled Goose Game on Steam on Tuesday night. And I installed it overnight. And on Wednesday, after dealing with the public, aka being at work, I came home and I turned on that game and I was a horrible goose. For about 3 hours, I terrorized the townsfolk as a horrible goose. Um, I had it going I was streaming it to my voice channel, and Guerre was there. And she was kind of giving me a couple pointers for how to get some of the things. It is, you have a dedicated honk button. Um, it was a lot. It was way too much fun. I should not be having that much fun being a horrible goose, but I gotta tell you, I had a lot of fun being a horrible goose.
I have finally lived long enough to see the day where now we have a dedicated honk button.
A dedicated
Right.
honk button, yes. So I stole the gardener's keys, the groundskeeper's keys, and then I locked him in the garden. And I made off with all of the stuff for his lunch and dragged it over to a little blanket by the lake where I had myself a picnic. And one of the other things was you had to get his rake in the lake. So while he was trying to retrieve his lunch off of the blanket, I dragged the rake through the little hidden hole in the hedge, and it went in the lake. And then he finally got mad enough at me. He was gonna set up a no goose sign, and so you get this new. They give you quests to do these things, and this new quest pops up. Make the groundskeeper hit his hand with the hammer. And Greer's like, okay, yeah, you gotta kind of sneak up and you gotta wait for just the right moment, and you'll know when that moment is. So I kind of creep up behind him as he's setting up the sign, and he gets his hammer down, and he's got the hammer, and he lifts it so he's ready to swing, and I honked at him, and he smacked himself with the hammer, and then he did that kind of dance around yelling like you do when you hit yourself with a hammer. I laughed so hard, and Greer laughed so hard, and by then he had opened up the path to the next area. So I took the hammer and I took off with it. So he is never going to hammer that sign into the ground because I took his hammer. It was glorious. So that was my week. Byleaf, how about you?
All right, on Brandywine, my low-level warden there completed the Yondershire, so I've done all the quests over there, including the mail quests. So I do know how the mail quests come out. It's too bad that no one on the Friday group was wanting to do that. And in ESO, my main character completed the main quest lines for both Hrothgar and Bankarai. And as a result of that, my quest log is gloriously empty.
Wow.
Ooh, yes. Wow. So I've managed to
Time to fill it up with trials.
No, not probably. Actually, one of the things that I did do was one of today's let's see, endeavors was to, and sort of roundabout what happened in here is one of the endeavors today was to do a mastercraft writ. All right. How was I'm trying to figure out how am I going to do a mastercraft writ? I looked to see what mastercraft writs I had, and turned out that one of them required that you make an item that needed 9 traits researched for that particular area. And I was saying, there seemed to be one trait that was completely stubborn in not being able to. Then when I read about what you need in order to do that trait, I said, what do you mean? You can only get it at Craglorn, and you can only really there's only one drop in Craglorn that gives you any item whatsoever apparently with this, and after that the only way to get it is to get stuff from other players who have who chose a different item for that particular quest. So it's something that unless you're heavy into crafting in a group, in a guild or something like that, you're probably never going to get that trait with more than one item or anything like that. So okay, whoops, that one is out. And the other one required see, that was one of them, and the other one required a style type that I think it might be a Craglorn start. So in other words, both of them required something relating to Craglorn. So obviously I wasn't going to get that. So I thought, all right, fine. So I thought maybe I could get a new master writ by doing the crafting dailies. I have not been doing the crafting dailies for a long time. And I finally found out how big of a mistake that was, because when I did the crafting dailies, I got the high end on each of them. I wound up getting the high end improvement thing, and I needed one more for woodworking to be able to bring my shield up to legendary. So I was able to get my shield up to legendary as a result of this. My blacksmithing, I got one more piece, but I still have plenty to go in there. I need to do dailies on blacksmithing so I could get that up in there, so I get my sword up to a higher level in there, because my sword right now is in pretty, I think is I can't remember what, so that needs to get up on there. And clothing, I need a ton of stuff because I have all this clothing stuff, and it's all stuck at, I think, on green or blue or something like that on that level. So I said, all right, let's do some general questing all around and seeing if I could actually get any of the endeavors done for this day. I thought, well, what can I? Oh, that's right. So I was going around doing all the Hrothgar quests and the last of the quests on there. And after that, Oh, I decided to go to and do the Undaunted stuff. I said, all right, let's go to Undaunted. Okay, you need the usual thing. You do a delve on this. I thought, oh, can I do the daily dungeon for? Because I don't think I've ever done the daily dungeon on the Undaunted before. So I decided to do that, and they sent me into the sewers of the city where the Undaunted are located, Wayrest. So I went to the
Yeah.
so I went into the sewers and ran that. Those bosses were really tough, but somehow I got all the way through that dungeon. And it was sort of ironic on this because I had forgotten that one of the endeavors for that day was to complete a dungeon. So while doing something for which I decided to do because I couldn't get one of the dungeons done. One of the endeavors done. I want doing an endeavor anyway. So I got all that done and managed to finish that up. And after that, also this week, DDO just came out with their latest race, and that is the Tabaxi. So an idea I had was, how about if I create parallel characters in DDO and ESO? So I created a Tabaxi monk in DDO and a Khajiit Dragon Knight in DDO, you had a Tabaxi and a Khajiit in ESO, and the idea was to have them both. I was hoping at first to do staff wielding, but staff doesn't really act like a staff in ESO. It acts like a mage's staff, not like a fighting, like a
Right.
like a melee weapon type staff. So I started out with a staff in there, but then I decided, all right, that's not going to work. So I say, is there another two-handed weapon I could use? No, nothing really feels like a staff in there. So I eventually decided to switch to using dual daggers. It's going to be my ultimate weapon for these characters. So now I have dual daggers on my Khajiit, and I am starting to get the feel of how to use this. I am in Kenrit's Roost, and today I just did the quest where you go into that tomb with the person who likes to steal people. I guess is the best way to say that. So I was just doing that one, getting the feel for using two weapons on there. So I'm starting to like the feel of that. The Tabaxi is going to be a little bit tougher because monks can't really use daggers without being put off center. So I'm using commas right now, but the idea is that I'm going to invest in a line that's going to allow me to use daggers on that character without going off center and still have my monk abilities. So I'm working on that on the Tabaxi side. So the idea is to have dual wielding daggers for the characters. And let's see how that works. And that is it for my week in gaming. We currently have 13 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the nation's page to support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. We do not have any emails this week. If you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. You can also us at Twitter. The Players Alliance at Players Ally, LOTRO Players at LOTRO Players, Arendis at Arendis, Finally Fit Finally Needle, Senswinda at Senswinda, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, Calabathian at Calabathian, and Krister is currently plotting the death of a dragon.
That is exactly it.
Yes, the Players Alliance has two shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We record LOTRO Players News. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we record DDO Players News, though very often that does get changed to another date. You could join the first shows at lotrplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.